Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Real Hackers podcast. This is basically where I just do normal VO work. I just hit record before I start doing it. Today I am, as part of my ongoing project of just finding bugs in random servers on GitHub for the meme event, writing a quick FTP Fuzzer to help me with that. And this is it right here, kind of just base bones functionality so far. Just uploading and downloading files. Right now, I am going to next work on implementing directory listing functionalities. For that, first, let's get a PCAP of what that looks like from the FTP's perspective. So going to go ahead, start a new Wireshark capture, go over here, and let's generate the traffic that we want to emulate. I believe that's okay. There it is. Go back over here. Stop the capture. And let's take a look at the TCP traffic, the TCP stream. So here you can see it is. You start off. The red is the data that the client sends. The blue is the data that the server sends back to us. So you can see here we start off specify username, specify password. Cool. Ask for the system. And then what the port command does is when FTP is actually transferring a considerable amount of data for stuff like downloading a file, uploading a file. Okay, let me take a step back. FTP operates off of port 21. With that and okay, taking a step back, FTP realistically has two communication effectively like tunnels, platforms, or streams that it goes through. The one you're seeing right here is effectively the FTP command stream. This is basically where like the client and the server just talk back and forth saying like, hey, this is what we're doing. The second stream is realistically where the data actually gets sent. Like let's say for uploading a file, you'll use the command stream to basically say, hey, upload the file X, and the secondary stream will be where the file content is actually sent. Port is one of the commands that's used to specify what that secondary stream will be. Realistically, there are two different ways FTP will set up that stream. Either the client will listen on a socket and the server will connect to the client, or the server will open up another socket which the client will connect back to. The port command sent from the basically says, well, if sent from the client basically has the client start listening on a socket which the server will connect to. For the port command, these first four octets are effectively the IP address. These last two octets are the port. Port is 2 bytes. The first octet is the larger byte, if I recall correctly. The second octet is the lesser byte, if I recall correctly. And effectively we see here we log in with authentication. This is just we're getting some metadata for just a bare bones FTP emulation, not really important. This right here effectively specifies how we want the data to be transferred. And list says, hey, give us the directory listing, which, like downloading or uploading a file, it will send that data over the secondary, not data stream, for lack of a better term. And let's go back to here. You can see here is the command. If we go over here, we can actually see here this is the secondary stream in which it will send the directory listing. You can see, hey, this is what we're getting. So looking at this looks basically identical to like a store or upload functionality. It's just we just use list, and we can only really download content. We can't upload it. So let's go ahead and add it. Here we have like functions which handle sending a file and downloading a file. This is going to look pretty similar to that, so def action list files self. This code is kind of looking bad. I need to get in a better position, start working on all of this stuff. Cool. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our transfer method. Now, let me explain what. So what this line is doing, effectively, if you look back on the FTP transfer, this port command, it's specifying how the connection is to be done. Now, the thing is, there's several different ways you can do that. You can do with port, you can do with passive, and each of those two with real types, either having the server connect to you or the client connect back to the server. There's multiple different commands like I believe ePassive, ePort. Let's look at the FTP command list here. LPassive, long passive mode, long port, ePort, ePassive. Actually, remember that correctly. There are multiple different ways, and with this fuzzer, we want it to be able to organically hit all of that. And we have to use that for multiple different actions, such as downloading a file, uploading a file, getting a directory listing. So what I did is I just created a function, set up data transfer, which we can see is here. And the idea behind it is this function will effectively just handle the logic of setting up that data transfer by itself, and also able to do it many different ways. That way we can just call this and have that functionality. Cool, so we do that. Next we get this is the actual list command. We will then send it. List cmd. And next we will execute the data transfer method. Okay, cool. Execute data transfer. What this will do is set up data transfer, effectively just set it up. So let's say if it's a port command, what it'll do is it'll generate and send the actual port command, and also bind a socket to listen to the corresponding IP and port. What execute data transfer will do is actually will send or receive the data. And let's take a look at that. So you can see here I need to change the arguments here, add some data type hints, but data socket, this is the socket that effectively we're using to communicate. Transfer method, that basically just specifies, hey, is this like a port type of data transfer or a passive type of data transfer? Data is a data that we're sending. Flow is if we're sending, receiving. Realistically, I should probably just combine these two data types. Since if we're receiving, we're not realistically this value is going to be none. So let me change that. If flow is not none, else and data. Yeah, because if we're sending data, then this value will not be none. If we're receiving data, then that value will be none, since we don't have any data before the data transfer actually happens. So let's go ahead and correct this. Okay, cool, we got that. And it looks like that should work. Let's go ahead and test it out. Fuzz is the main fuzzing function. Once I get this done, it'll probably be like a while true loop or something like that. For now, I just don't have it as a loop. That way I can just individually verify functionalities. I'll probably will need to write some unit testing to take on that role as I continue on with this development process. What was the name again? I forgot. Action list files. Okay, cool. Exit. Yeah, I named this fuzzer after a Volbeat song that I was listening to at the time that I needed to name it. Now, let's run this just to make sure it runs. Okay, cool. Looks like I forgot to... Okay. So this should be data, since I removed the flow argument, which specified if it was sending or receiving, and place it just seeing if data is none or not. So, looking at this, right now I have these two yo and ya. The ya for port, yo for passive, just to effectively print out data that it's receiving. We're seeing here both ya and yo, so it's able to transfer both the port and passive, and we're seeing output that looks like a directory listing. Let's take a look at this in Wireshark just to make absolutely sure that this is working correctly. Continue without saving. FTP. Let's look at all FTP data. Oh, follow TCP stream. Okay, cool. Specify username, password, passive. So with passive, server listens, and we can see here in the message it actually tells us, hey, this is the IP and this is the port in a format similar to the port command that we send. Send the list command, so it will give us the listing. And then, yeah, we see directory listing and we get something that looks pretty yeah, I'd be surprised if this was different from that. Cool, so we implemented that functionality. Now, what is next? So, right here, with the ability to download and upload files, I have a lot of like the core functionality of what this FTP Fuzzer will need. Later on, I'll probably need to implement some like directory logic, but for now, I'm just gonna quickly go through and effectively try to like improve the quality of the code. First thing that comes to mind, actually, hang on a second. Okay, yeah, getting back. I'm just gonna try and increase the quality of the code right now. That way, I don't put it off until later in the development process when the code base gets a bit larger, and then dealing with that is a lot more painful. So first off, looking through here, one thing that just comes to mind is for generate file, I have it just return a static string, which Volbeat fans might recognize as some lyrics from Doc Holliday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly write a string generation function and use it for that. So let's do def generate string. Should not require anything from the... Also, right now I only have one class which represents the FTP Fuzzer itself. This shouldn't need anything from that, so I'm writing it outside of that class. length, which should be an integer. Okay. For I in range length output equals that string output plus equals random dot choice. We're gonna have char set equals up. With a string library, I could probably just do like string dot alphanumeric plus something else, but for now I'm gonna just assign it to a static string like that, just so I can write this function. Return output char set. Let's look up on Google. Python 3 string all characters. What is the string? Nope. Python 3 get all characters. Okay, yeah. Let's Python 3 import string dot ASCII. ASCII octo printable. Yeah, let's go with string dot. Well, I'm gonna try string dot printable for now. One thing that I don't know if will cause a bit of issues. FTP uses. Actually, let me go back to the FTP stream. Nope, that is not what I wanted. I wanted the command stream. Okay, so if we look at the actual commands, we see at the end of it is a terminator ODOA or 0D0A hexa, and I'm not sure if these special values will at all interfere with the parsing, but for now I'm just gonna throw them in there and see what happens. I imagine there's at least one FTP server out there which this will mess with, but oh well. String dot printable. Okay, cool. So we can do generate string. Return max file name size. We need to establish this constant. Let's go with 500 for now. And let's test this out just to make sure. Oh, it's okay. Right now this is a string, so we need to convert it over to byte string. Since this is Python 3 and not Python 2, that should do it. Convert that over to string, and then convert it. Okay, cool. That should fix this. Okay, so looking at here, it does appear that it was able to actually upload the file. However, we can see here that from the various unknown command responses, that it's probably interpreting this as multiple commands. Okay. Let's take a look at this in hex. After that. Okay, cool. So we can see that the file name was cut off here, which we see in the hex dump is here, immediately followed by a 0A or a new line. So it is counting hex 08 as a delimiter, which is a new line character. Let's go to string.letters. Wait. String.digits plus string.ASCII. Yeah, I'm just going to go with this for now. Okay, here we had it. Oh, that is... Okay, for some reason it was hanging. I need to add a timer to the socket operations. Hang again. Okay, let's try it here. Could not create file. Okay, something's messing up. Okay, cool. This has been going on for a bit over 20 minutes, so I'm just going to cut it off here and continue the development process later on this fuzzer so I can then go out and do some VR work with it. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.